That's
Yeah, y'all want it open?
There's a pin behind the door.
Does that feel better, guys?
What's that? Chris knows. I can't yell that loud.
Well, you can, you shouldn't.
Thank you. I can, but I'm not going to.
Are you guys ready?
Talk about it later.
What? Don't beat me for correcting, sir.
Do what I want.
Are you ready?
Hoorah!
Okay. So, little difference in plans for today. It sounds like, did they tell you Major Gillis cannot come today?
Yes.
All right. So, in order, oh, that's cute. In order for you all to have, well, for there to be more flexibility for Major Gillis on Friday, we're going to go ahead, we'll take a break, and after that, we'll start the search session, the learning activity component. The people that are going to go meet with their manuscript groups, I want to make sure you're on the right track first, and then you can go see your chairs. The only chair that's not here today is Dr. Johnson, and I have not had an opportunity yet to confirm with Lieutenant Colonel Pointer that she can meet with her group today. You guys don't have anything else after that, right? Today? So then, if you're a group that doesn't have a chair today, and you've had a chance to review your search strategy, and you feel comfortable that you have the coaching that you need to be successful for your search presentation, and you're clear on the assignment, then you can cut loose, okay? And then just meet with your chair on Friday if they're not here, all right? Does that make sense? Is that okay for, well, yeah, I shouldn't say is that okay for everybody because it's what we're gonna do. Yeah, that's not bad.
That was our schedule change Friday.
So that means you will not have my class on Friday at 8. And Major Benora is trying to get a new time from Major Gillis. And as soon as he has that time, he'll write it up on that board right there for y'all. Okay? And then I know Dr. Benham wanted to do test review with y'all on Friday. So it would have been really sweet if it meant y'all didn't come in on Friday, but that's not. But it at least opens up the day now for them to do things earlier, and then hopefully you guys will have the same kind of day. So instead of being penalized with the long Friday, we'll stack it in today so you guys can get some time to start working on your manuscripts before Friday. All right? Yeah. So I just want to make sure. Do you guys have reference management systems like EndNotes, RefWorks? They've got all these other ones that are free. And so I just want to make sure. I know Dr. Johnson made sure that you guys at least had some familiarity with EndNote. I'm talking about this because it is really difficult to engage in searches and then not duplicate work a ridiculous amount of time if you don't use a reference system, a reference management system, because every time you make edits, you're going to have to go back and find those citations again. So if you have it in a referencing system, it will save you nightmares of time. And this is the frustrating part of the system. If you're trying to publish anything internally or externally, you're going to be barraged with edits. It is a fact of life. I'm like on my 10th edit of one of 3 manuscripts. When I did my research practicum, I had to edit those at least 5 times, all 3 manuscripts, before they were accepted and told me, okay, now you can go forward with your dissertation. Are they doing that so that I can go through the rite of passage? Yeah, maybe. But the reality is I have to learn how to grow thick skin, because when I submit this to people, there's going to be somebody that's reviewing whatever I wrote and saying, wow, this really sucks. And they're going to verbalize it very, very slightly differently, just professionally say, wow, this is a real piece of crap. You need to fix X, Y, and Z. They're saying it professionally, it's just as scathing. You don't want to be at a point when you're trying to publish where, wow, this is so painful, I don't want to do it, and you just give up. You want to have some thick skin, and you're going to have people that just are not constructive. That's reality. Do we want everybody to be constructive? Yeah, that'd be awesome, right? So this is part of that process. And the thing is, when they're criticizing you and they're telling you to change it, if you have a reference management system, you're not as burnt, you're not as chapped, because you know you're just going to plug in what's already in your system and you're not duplicating as much work. It's much simpler. And I'm just trying to think how we can kind of introduce this for the next group at the beginning before they get into their manuscripts. Did any of you see that manuscript resource that I uploaded? Yeah, was it helpful? If you probably haven't had time to look at it. Just let me know if it's helpful or not. And then I'll show you that book again if you guys need it. All right, I put up one of your course competencies again. I just want to make sure when it's too hot, I'm sorry. When we're doing our, I said sorry, you guys hit me on my evaluation for saying that. It's too hot, I'm gonna have to do this. Okay, anywho. When we're doing the group discussions and we're trying to facilitate people thinking out loud and people analyzing whatever our discussion is, I want people to make sure that you don't poo-poo other people's input. Everybody's contributing valuable information. Even if it's off point, then what we can do is say, hey, I can see where you're going with this, or I really can't see where you're going with it, and then redirect. But we want to make sure we're respectful of each other and that nobody feels unsafe participating, okay? Other thing is, that's all I care about. And then I just want to make sure you all know how to do literature searches. So you can go through all kinds of education and have even as a requirement that you do a literature search and not end up with a rigorous product if you don't learn from the beginning the foundation you want. All right, so the most important thing is that it's methodical. So what does that mean? Before you even start, you've got a system in place that you're gonna follow, so that as you're reading an article that just happens to make you feel good or sounds great or whatever, you don't include that and then discard another one because you're not following the same criteria for the search across the board, okay? And it's easy to do that because you're gonna do the search. You're not usually get to just sit down and complete the entire search in one fell swoop. So as you read and the literature starts changing your opinion, you're going to start changing with it, and you're going to bias your material if you don't already have a preset criteria of exactly what you're doing and exactly what you're looking at. All right? So that's the reason for saying methodical. Now, all of these systems, or all of these journals are beginning to, I said it again, are beginning to follow preset standards of methods, okay? That is newer. So here's what happened. I know you don't care about all my stories, but this story might be somewhat germane. I had to do a literature search, of course. That's a requirement for my research practicum to get into my literature, right? We had a course. I followed the standards that we were taught in that course for an integrative review, okay? Do you all know what's the difference between an integrative review, a systematic review, a meta-analysis, and a meta-synthesis? Anybody?
No, ma'am.
So meta-analysis, they look at multiple resource trials and compare them output and approximate.
Okay, so meta-analysis is looking at all of the literature, all of the literature they can find, right? And then they are systematically comparing it in a quantitative fashion. And in a meta-analysis, they are only evaluating quantitative research. Okay? Now, then a meta-synthesis, what do you think that is? If a meta-analysis is for quantitative research, it's qualitative. So it's systematically reviewing, analyzing all the qualitative research on that topic. So that's a meta-synthesis. If you're combining, because the state of the science doesn't have enough quantitative, it's got a little quantitative, little synthesis, then you're now back into that meta-synthesis category. An integrative review is when you're looking at some of the literature. It is somewhat systematic and methodical, but it's not as rigorous as a systematic review or a meta-analysis, okay? It's kind of what you see in general for most literature reviews, right? You have a system, you have your inclusion, you have your exclusion criteria. You're looking at the level of the literature. You may or may not have preset categories, but it's not according to a system that's recognized. If you want to publish anything in most of the AMA style journals now, you'll need to go to the ICMJ site and look at what their criteria are. So most of the two categories for quantitative literature synthesis now. So literature synthesis, systematic review, follow either the Prisma, right? The Prisma Plus article I gave you guys, or they follow the other group I gave you through ICMJ. ICMJ, and I'll show you in a minute. So what happened to me is I finished this literature synthesis. It actually ended up being an integrative review. I had a systematic methodology that I had to create because I had not learned about Prisma. So here I am, I'm on my 6th edit of my literature search. It's completely overdone in my topic area, so there's no way I'm going to do anything with it at all. It was just checking a box. And my chair says, why don't you present this in a Prisma format? Could I do it after I'd already done the search? No, I couldn't, because I didn't already have that preset criteria. I had not used that criteria. I had to, based off the information that I had at my disposal, make decisions up front using a homegrown tool. So that already has, to my public, well, I think it was good at not being biased. And this, I used a checklist. I followed that checklist on all of the articles that I pulled, okay? All of that discard keep, everything I evaluated in my literature synthesis table, it had a systematic, rigorous method. My advisor went back and audited the entire search for me, and audited the entire review to make sure that it was rigorous. But it's not anything recognized because it was a homegrown tool, right? So when I'm presenting it, people are like, well, what's this and why did you use that? Why didn't you just use the standard? Well, the real answer is because I was too dumb. I was ignorant. I did not know about Prisma because Prisma was published about a year after I started my review. But then I'm on edits 2 years later still, you know. So it's better if you know up front what is the standard and you follow that methodical standard up front. Use Prisma, use Consort, okay? So I'm going to teach you all that so that now in the future of your writing career or evaluating different articles, you can see how valuable that information is. Make sure you use multiple databases, multiple sites. And so by sites, I'm not just talking about electronic. that you're also getting hard copies. If internal data and external data, who can tell me the difference between internal and external? Okay. So the external is completely on the mark. It is anything from your literature review that's like in a database or, and now internal, she said, is your research, so it could be your research information known to you, right? Had a personal conversation with this expert, they stated X, Y, and Z. What else can it be? Can anybody think of another idea of what internal data would be? This is especially germane in evidence-based practice. Medical records, okay. And then what are some of the end products we're hoping for out of some of your capstones? Change model resulting in what? Besides just change in practice, what are you doing with that? Who's okay, what are you guys trying to do? New guidelines, SOPs, anything that's with a policy, anything within your system or organization, right, that's existing as a document to support what you're doing, but may not be published external to your organization. Okay, good, very good. Okay, so you want to make sure, I think we have beat this horse into the ground discussing about your search needs to be methodical, transparent, and congruent, and your appraisal needs to be methodical, transparent, and congruent. What do I mean by transparent? Repeatable. At a glance, when they're looking at how you did things, they're like, oh, I could do that. I could do it exactly the way they did, right? What else is transparency? And transparency is phenomenally important in qualitative research, and now people are realizing it is also important in quantitative. What is also a point of transparency, besides the fact that they can see up front what you did?
Exclusion criteria.
Okay, inclusion, exclusion criteria. What else though? Limiters are another thing that you need to mention. So you know already you're going to say what databases you looked at, what sources, did you use Ancestry, did you use internal data, did you look at gray literature, did you look at negative literature, did you find dissertations? All right, okay, we've got all of that. You said your inclusion, exclusion. This is one paragraph usually, right? One paragraph, and then what are your limiters, and then and the date you did it. It's important to tell them this was done in February 2015, because when that gets published, they might know 5 articles that have already come out since then. It takes 2 years to publish in AANA, right? So then they can see, oh, you know what you're talking about. When you did that search, these articles weren't out yet. Okay? All right, so what else is important in transparency? What else do? We've been discussing it as a part of transparency.
Avoiding bias.
Avoiding bias, and where you realize there could be some bias, you are explaining that. I had to rely on European literature. There really wasn't any literature in the US, right? You're admitting the possible shortcomings up front so that people can see what could be influencing what your conclusions are. And then that congruence. Is your PICO question asking what you're really trying to get at? Did you want to say emergence delirium and research emergence delirium, and then everything they're looking about is talking about people that are over 65, already were alcohol dependent, already had sensory deprivation, and ended up delirious? That may not be congruent, right? That could really be delirium, because we already know those are triggers for delirium, right? But when you're talking about a young person flipping out, that's very resilient, really has no comorbidities, that is congruent, right? That's emergence delirium. No joke, right? So that's what I'm talking about with congruence. Because Otherwise, somebody's gonna read it and say, yeah, well, that was all cool, but we're talking about apples and oranges. You're professing you're looking at apples, but what you evaluated were oranges. All right? So now you see, it's really hard to artificially separate search and appraisal, because part of the way you do your search influences the reader's concept of the rigor of your search. All right? You have to identify your key terms up front and then utilize those. So key terms, what are you looking at? You say what you think it is. How do you make sure you get the widest, most appropriate net? You only use those key terms?
No.
Use every synonym. Okay? I hate to bore you with emergence delirium, but it's something that I can actually speak to off the cuff. If I just search for emergence delirium, I get a completely different result than if I say emergence delirium, limiter as adults, right? And then I say, or emergence agitation, or recovery emergence, or recovery agitation. You see what I'm saying? You got to give all of the synonyms that you've ever seen or heard when you did your background. When you did your background search and you were introduced to it, you'll start seeing different terms that people use, right? And I even found people talking about people that were under 65, meeting all the criteria of emergence delirium. They were calling it post-operative delirium in the PACU 5 minutes after surgery, right? For me, that was an inclusion article because they're describing emergence delirium. And I have to evaluate that article, but I have to explain the shortcomings of that article, that they use the term as if it were synonymous when it's really not the same thing. Okay? And that's part of the state of the science.
Yeah. How does that tie in with like the mesh terms and subject, like mapping to subject headings?
So, okay, so mesh, you guys pretty clear on mesh? So when you're looking at mesh and you use a word, the beauty of mesh is it will show you synonyms or other categories that they could place that literature under, even if that term isn't showing up in that article, like in the heading, etc.
So it essentially just runs all the synonyms.
Right. Okay, so do you guys know like Google is built almost as a mesh, but you don't get to see the mesh. Okay? So you could end up with a bunch of stuff you didn't really want. Signal does mesh, and it's blatant about it. You can see it. It explodes. You can explode it or tighten it down, right? Then I think if you, in the reading, PubMed meshes, but it's more like Google. It's more discrete. You're not as aware of it. So review, look at the, I can't remember what page it is. Actually, so if you look at page 41, it tells you which ones are best for keywords and which are better for key phrases, and then it'll tell you if it meshes or not. So Cochrane is a mesh, and then sorry, I don't have all the meshes memorized. Joanna Briggs is a mesh system. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, so if you start looking at page 41, there's this big old table that's a couple pages long, and it gives you a nice rundown. So the bottom line is, though, if you can't remember if it meshes or not, if it's a discrete mesh versus an overt mesh, then you want to review. So when you're picking your databases that you're going to run in to start with, go back and review and know which ones do what. Okay? I don't want to, I think I just set down my clicker. I did. All right. So we're talking about identifying your databases. We've got actually some pretty good tools here at Stimson. I want to show you that at the end of our discussion, okay? So I just want to tour it a little bit for you and show you because there's some that are excellent just for evidence base, and then there's PubMed, and so it's nice. There's also, we don't have access to it here, but Web of Science. What's Web of Science beneficial for? Have any of you heard that? So,
Consolidated.
yeah, it kind of pulls everything together. And so the problem is you get a lot of garbage, but if you use a reference management system with your search, in like EndNote, it will show you in the column to the left, Web of Science, 183 hits. Then it'll say PubMed, 83. Cochrane base, 1. So you select all your databases, and then it says duplicates, right? Web of Science, duplicates, 68. And then you see the duplicates along all the databases. So then you can discard duplicates from one folder, and then you can identify what you got from where. Like, and so usually I will throw out like Web of Science duplicates, so I can see what was in PubMed, what was in Sinon, what was in Ovid. Okay? And then when you do your chart, your flow diagram, initial search, that pulled this many with your databases, and then you can put on your flow sheet what you got from each resource, right? And then what you excluded, what you kept, the number of articles, and the types of studies. Bang, 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 right? And then the reader sees in one quick view what you did, and you only had to take a paragraph to describe it, 2 at the very most, right? And then you meet your word count requirement for the journal, so you can actually publish and have some transparency and some ability for reproducibility. Okay. All right. We talked about search duplicates. Okay. And I think the appropriateness, that still fits with congruence, right?
Yeah.
Yeah? All right. So there we go. Google Scholar is also a nice resource. People forget about Google Scholar, and it doesn't matter if your library has it or not, it's free, right? You can just jump on it and do it. Trip is a resource that we have here at the school, and that it has a lot of information for evidence-based practice. And then I want Dynamed, you have Ovid, so I'll show you guys this. I just don't want to move back and forth between computers and laptop. And I don't know how well my hotspots work. So Medline has, oh, I forgot my B there. That's negative 0.1 for me today. Okay. PubMed, not PubMed. Obviously, I wrote this when I was post-op. No, I wasn't. Okay. So there's lots of different kinds of results. And now you guys all read Biddle, and you saw that pretty funnel graph. So what does a funnel graph help to show you? Yeah. Your published bias or your search bias, right? Both. Okay, so we've got things that say, yes, this was significant. And is the P significance, does that really tell us a lot? Not really, okay? There's a whole awesome chapter on that with Dr. Biddle wrote in his book. We have used it traditionally in research, and we're finding that there are a lot better ways of finding a significance other than P. Okay? P in and of itself is not incredibly useful. All right? All right, that's better than sorry, huh? All right. Non-confirmatory. There were no significant findings. There was no correlation. There was no consensus if you use my research method. Okay? Those are all negative. They're just as important as the things that had something positive. So you'll hear it verbalized as non-confirmatory or no significant difference. And then the other types of literature you want to find would be presentations, poster, podium, somebody presented something at their command, a white paper. Okay, that's all great literature. It's still significant, and if you have a dissertation, right, nobody wants to read those things. It's just painful. Okay, just drones on for like 170 pages or 200 pages, and you're like, really? I could care less. Where's the meat and potatoes? Okay. And then anything else that's unpublished that is talking to your topic. And if the author's there, you can contact them. And they may have other information that they weren't able to fit into that literature because of word restrictions, poster size limitations, time allowed to present on the podium. You have 15 minutes to describe what you did in 5 years. Okay, I can do that, right? I can do that, but the audience doesn't get all the details. If you're looking at research, great or otherwise, and they did a power analysis, but they didn't have room to explain it, that's why they have that contact information, so that you can contact them and say, hey, I need your data on your power analysis because I want to do something similar, and so I need to see what your numbers were, right? So that you're not just pulling something off Cohen's table and hoping that that's about the effect size you need. All right. So here are some examples of some negative literature and gray literature resources for your searches. Okay. So they've got that journal Negative Results Biomedicine. Embase, you guys know Embase has a lot of European studies. Okay. Medicine Embase. I want that spirit uniform, by the way. I'm going to wear it. I'll wear the whole uniform. But not on the day I have to go to my suicide training, which is tomorrow. Okay. And then Graylit.org. And so they collect great literature. And so that's another great research or a great search source so that you can spread a wide net and keep that funnel graph balanced and not biased. All right, here's a negative non-confirmatory site. I'm just putting the picture up so when you see it, you recognize it and like, okay, yeah, that's what I was looking for. Okay. So obviously people that are serious about research started realizing, man, we have got a serious problem. You're not looking at all the literature, and so they started putting repositories for these negative or no significance, etc. And here's the gray literature, and it also describes what exactly it is. So if you feel like my explanation was squishy, you can verify. You can check me. Okay, that's all right. Smart people do that, right? They don't just blindly tell you the information. Somebody gets up and tells them, like, I was just seeing if you're paying attention. You were. Okay. Right. Source Index is another site. And this is specifically for in health sciences. And you see the TRIP database is one of the sites. And then they've got the government documents. Another one is for anesthesia, AFPC, the Patient Safety Council. They put out information with even guidelines, okay? So there's a lot of resources that we have that people don't access when they're doing their searches. And you can find graded literature from looking at Cochrane reviews, at the meta-analysis or the meta-synthesis. Look at the reference sheet, which is laborious, I'm going to tell you, because it's like pages long. It's hundreds of references, right? What is that called? If you go and grab a reference out of so if you have a non-primary source, but then now if you're going to state what the conclusion was for systematic review, you can say that you stated what that was. But if it's like a meta-analysis, if they're saying a systematic review and you want to quote like a specific part that somebody else that they quoted, do you pull out that quote of a quote and then mark it as that specific person's quote? What do you have to do?
Original research.
Right. Why do you have to go to that original source? Because people misinterpret things. People use their filter, and their filter is biased by their life experiences, their knowledge, blah, 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 and they think they're saying what they're saying. They think they're representing that other person appropriately, but they're not really saying what that person said. So you gotta go to that primary source.
Taking it out of context.
They take it out of context. Well, yeah, they can. And that's more on the side of scientific misconduct, right? Intentional or unintentional. When you're taking it out of context to support something that really wasn't there, that starts getting real iffy, right? Okay. Cool deal. So, ProQuest dissertations, usually libraries have that, Web of Science, Cochrane. SciInfo is mostly psychological information. ERIC, E-R-I-C, is usually educational resources. Okay. Okay, so the International Committee of Medical Journal Editors, they are now getting very active since we're about 2009 or 10, and putting out standards for publications like we were just talking about. Other standards are PRISMA, the Iowa Joanna Briggs Institute, which Dr. Benham is very involved in, and there are a ton of it. There are a ton of other resources out there, but I would stick with something that's pretty well known. So let's say what's known where? You know this is for AMA journals, right? PRISMA's pretty well known. Iowa is known for evidence-based circles, right? That's the Iowa method, and that is an evidence-based method, and it's known for evidence-based circles. Joanna Briggs is really known more in social sciences and nursing. It's an Australian group, but they are very interested in national. This is just showing you guys have this checklist. This is a recognition slide. It's that from PLOS, PRISMA, and PLOS. Okay, so that's another one. And this is an example of the diagram they expect. If you use PRISMA, and they'll say, you know, so look at when you're not doing something for an assignment. When you're not trying to publish something for an assignment, what's the very first thing you do before you even jump on anything? Maybe you've done a background, got some background information, you formulated a question, and you're starting your search. What else should you be doing at the same time if you're considering publishing? Save yourself a ton of heartache.
Look up the guidelines. Look up the guidelines that they require for publishing.
Okay, yeah, that's one thing. Look up their guidelines. If they say they want PRISMA or they say they want Consort, then that's the way you're going to do your search, right? Because you want to publish with them and you don't want to redo that search. Okay? One other thing, even before that.
Talk to librarian.
Oh, yeah, talk to a librarian. That is absolutely. Absolutely. Let them help you with your search strategy when you're a novice. I had to do that for sure, and it helped me a lot. I wasted like 2 months on my own, screwing it all up. And then the librarian, she just walked me through it in like 3 hours, and I was like, whoa, this is amazing. Why didn't I do this for all my other people? Okay? So librarians, incredible, especially in a university. What if you're somewhere and you don't have a university? You can find out if you can get affiliation as a medical person. If they are affiliated with another medical facility, a civilian one like University Medical Center, then you say, hey, can I get membership? I work at CMC or I work at Madigan and I need a more robust library. And some of them will say, yeah, we'll include you, or they'll say, yeah, it's a fee of whatever. Or you can go to your public library and find out what kind of enrollment system they have and what kind of search capability they have if you're in a more podunk area. Okay, so the last thing I'll stop fishing and I'll let, so we can actually get one class on the thing, is query that journal. Hey, This is I think this is a problem. You write a little paragraph basically describing the background and significance of what your research or question is, and say, are you at all interested in this manuscript, this article? Because some of them will say, no, wait, that is not our purview. But you might want to check out this methods journal. Or they'll say, yeah, you know what? We really don't want any information on nursing. We are strictly a medical journal. Okay? Now, then you can do a couple things. If they say we're only medical, then you could get a doctor involved in what you're doing and make them secondary author, and then preach it to them again with that doctor's name on it. Okay? Or you could say, screw you, I'm going to a different journal, right? But the bottom line is, before you start, if you're doing it for a problem, that's good. But if you want to disseminate, start looking at where you want to disseminate before you even do the thing. And see if there's any kind of interest, okay? So that you can conform to what their expectations are and save yourself work. Cool? All right. You guys have these tools. So this National Guidelines Clearinghouse, you can see how that might just be incredibly useful for an evidence-based project, right? Then they've got, so this tool, is that from Melnick and Fineout, I think, okay? It has exactly what you use, so you can keep track of how you did your search, okay? And how you did your search in different databases. If they use mesh terms, what terms show that, okay? So it's more rigorous. And then you just keep that in your records. You just keep this in your records. Here's PubMed, here's SciNall, and then here's blanks in case you use something different like Web of Science, TRIP, Dynamed. Up to date. Is up to date good? Yeah. They go in every 2 years and they update their current ideas of what they think practice should be on specific things, like giving anticoagulants for regional, or stress dose steroids in patients, right? Or antibiotic prophylaxis. So they have something that's been published within the last couple of years. So up to date is not a bad place, and it's also free. You just have to register. Okay, and then you just document. What were your databases? What were your terms? How did you combine terms? Did you use an and? So you know, you guys are, what if you use an and? What's the difference between an and and a or?
Limits your things together.
Okay, which one limits and which one expands?
And limits.
And limits or expands, right? And then what can you do on something that could have different endings? Yeah, and so the big thing is this. Before you search that database, see what their symbols are. And if you really don't want to take the time to do that on your own, go and use a research librarian. They will help you, and they'll say, hey, this database, you need an asterisk. This database, so truncate the word and put an asterisk. This database, you need to put parentheses. This database, they know this. This is their job. They have a whole degree in it. A whole graduate degree in this kind of stuff. Use them, okay? And then you can summarize it in a table. This is an example of a summary table, okay? Right there, it's spelled out. How many subjects, what was the method, limitation, double-blind randomized controlled trial, the limitation, it was propofol, it's milky, there's no way it was truly blinded, okay? Outcomes, decreased, what do we want to say? Decreased airway reactivity. Okay, I'm just saying. Okay, and then relevant result findings. Relevant means pertaining to your question. That congruence, right? How does that pertain to what you're looking for? And how did it not? What was it not? But make sure you put those limitations in there. So when you do your write-up, you could say, yeah, I pulled randomized controlled trials, but they all use different assessment tools to evaluate that outcome. Or they all operationalize hemodynamic stability differently. This one used a pulse of this one used a pulse of that. This one used a BP of this, the other one used that. Boom, 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 there's your discussion, right? Cool? This would help you guys for your manuscripts, huh? We gotta change when this class is. The sequencing, huh?
Incorporate that in instead.
Well, I was looking through this and I'm like, everything that you guys are like dying with, I'm like, man, if you guys had this before, you'd be rocking it. This manuscript would be a breeze for you, right? Okay, here. This is my example of my pathetic homegrown criteria for my search. So this is the wall of shame. Right here, you guys laugh at me, snicker all you want, get it out of your system. Okay, so I sat down with my committee. I came up with this criteria based on the background information I had and some search information I had from other courses building up to this, like, you know, writing a grant and all this other heartache, okay? And then I hadn't learned a whole lot about systematic searches. I went to other people that I worked with in the university that I knew had done systematic searches. I compared what was in the literature I had learned with what these experts were telling me to do. And then I adapted a tool that had been published. And I thought, okay, this is cool. How did I adapt it? By specifically looking at my topic and answering my aims for my research question, right? What is the definition? What are the facts? Okay, so I looked at that. What was unclear? So I based this off the gaps in my literature, okay? You're gonna do that to some extent with these very specific ways of doing it. The difference is, see, right here, here's a big old weakness right there. This is all good. These are my limiters, my inclusion, exclusion, and making sure it's congruent right here. Is the search scientifically rigorous? But how did I determine that? Everything I learned, right? I looked at the level of the evidence. I looked to see if it was actually double-blinded. I looked to see if it was powered sufficiently. Boom. I went through all of that nightmare. But if I have it on a checklist, it's crystal clear. Nobody can question it, and somebody else can reproduce it. And that, I would say, is the most disgusting part of this homegrown attempt at a methodical review. Okay, so just go with the nice old systematic. Okay, you still have to develop your own inclusion and exclusion and guaranteeing that it's congruent. And I do recommend you have a checklist for that. I do, because it's easy to start losing track, especially when your first attempt, you pull up like 693 articles, okay? And then you keep limiting down, but you're still left with 183 to review for keep and discard. That's gonna happen. That's not in the purview of this capstone, but it can happen to you. If you're trying to do something scientific, you get involved, you see something that really bothers you about anesthesia care in your facility, and you got to make sure you're really doing a thorough job, okay? And then evidence table. Now, okay. Is there a difference between that kind of search and a point of service search? You betcha. Yeah. So, you guys, we've got 10 minutes till the hour's up. You want me to log on real quick and show you? what's in your Stimson library and show you how to just do point of service like that clinical query, that
Yes,
kind of
ma'am.
thing. Is that cool? All right. Do you guys want to like go to the bathroom or something while I do that, or do you? Okay. Yeah. And I should probably go get my ID card. Let's see if I can hotspot.
Really good, Mom. Let me speak to you. Better make it before.
Yes, it's good. All right. Is it okay?
It says protein.
Because I texted you guys a lot.
There's that grams now.
Like, wow.
I'm like, it's gotta be false advertising.
See, I've gotta start
Especially that with
being cognizant. The thing like, I don't want
You know, technically it's not saying so it is false advertising. It says protein helps keep.
It messes up the mojo. That's my
That
dog's
doesn't mean
name.
there's protein in
My
this.
dog's name is Mojo. I know you don't care, but I have to share this with you. You know why we named him Mojo? The dog that we got before kind of just wandered up to us on the street and he was attracted to the crowd.
Yeah,
So we
that's the
checked,
other
make sure he
calories
belonged in there. He kept
on
like
sugar.
using skateboards and climbing the fence.
Hey, can I, the way I shake in this chair, I do 110 calories an hour.
So we,
Soluble.
we got Mojo and then we decided we just tell the girls, if he runs away, you can say, oh, I see you lost my Mojo.
Isolated soy protein.
No joke, we seriously said that today.
I'm gonna do my next
Well,
about
those
5 miles.
sugar-
That way when I go walking, I go walk 5 miles.
That's awesome, dude.
Exactly, it's cereal. Rice, whole
They have
grain
those-
wheat, sugar,
Right.
sugar again, wheat bran, soluble wheat fiber.
What's the sugar scenario? What I'm finishing up right now?
Let's see, the transporter.
Oh, 7 grams? That's great.
7 grams. 17 grams of carbohydrates.
I love the
It's like search. I'm gonna use
We'll be right back. Ma'am.
No, I don't want to have it. That's it.
We should.
Oh, yeah.
If I was your chair and you had negative results, I would. I want to force the way.
I should be aware of that.
I want to force the way to represent how it makes me look.
We have to.
I'm
But Dr. Carl, that was.
Yeah.
Yep. Sure.
Correct.
That's not.
Just doing just exporting.
So I'll have the day off before. I guess.
2 days. We're doing 2 days.
So I can just go for 2 days. What are you gonna do? I'm just bringing some stuff back and I'll put in.
When did you get that?
Oh, gotcha.
Washington. That's all we do. So you're not going to use it.
I think.
You don't have to put it.
Save up a bunch.
You have 6 days.
Yeah.
Well, 6 days total, right?
Yeah. You're going to have another 2 days. Looking at Vermont, you're going to be in
Really?
I've heard that if you not have 65, handles open, so I don't think all the end is not exactly
3 weeks will take a year for West. 3 weeks is almost a year.
Yeah, well, I think it's
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I wasn't in a big rush. In all reality, do you like
Yeah,
The hot spot just wasn't worth it. And display.
But anyways, the.
Oh my goodness.
The same company.
I just looked it up. Surrounded by. It's got a workout facility.
oh wow.
See, what I just tell you.
What's
Steve.
All right.
There it is. I just got tickets. They just sold it out. Sold out. And I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's probably that. Well, it's next to it.
Yeah, no, I got
Yeah, see, it's
I don't know. Yeah.
That's a great idea.
It's actually a good thing.
Are we on the hour now?
Looks like I see an hour.
On the dot now, man.
All right. So you guys ready?
Yeah.
So here we go. You guys know this site, right? This www.usaghands.org site. If you go to that incoming students, then it will link you with the Stimson Library. And you guys know if you're capped on, you get different access than if you just take a look. And then you can also sign up. You guys have that code from the library. Awesome. Okay. So then, Stinson Library Resource. Okay. I'm gonna, let's see. I'm just trying to make it so you can see the part I care about.
You need the text smaller, ma'am.
No, well, this is okay. Okay, so you guys know, do you guys know of all of the products that they have here?
Yeah.
You know how to get to the textbooks? All that anesthesia access stuff? Yeah? Okay. All right, so then you can go into either library databases and e-resources. And then you can go, when you scroll down, it starts showing you all the different databases. So you guys know this is where you get all your anesthesia text. And then you can go on. So now here, let's see, like, here's sign-off, which uses mesh terms, okay? This is clinical key, so it's trial. So this is like practice guidelines, patient education. So this could be really valuable for an evidence-based practice type of project or capstone. Then also, there's this technical reports here at DTIC online. Can you guys see my, yeah. So this here is good for grade literature, right? Here, budget data. That could be really useful with cost effectiveness, okay? Dynamed. So this is point of care. So this is a way you could do a quick search in a clinical situation to figure out when you've got 5 minutes before you go out and meet the patient that's got coccidiomycosis or something like that, something bizarre. Here's evidence-based medicine reviews with the Cochrane registry, okay? And so this particular one is gonna provide you access to all those type of systematic review resources, okay? So it's not just Cochrane, it's got other systematic reviews all under one database with one search mechanism, Ovid. Okay, let's see if I can. Is this one of the, yeah. Okay, then Federal Research in Progress. So that they've got like the site up at Ann Arbor in Michigan. It's called STAR, I think it is. It's an Army research program, and they've got this monstrous database on all kinds of information that they've been gathering on pre-deployed and redeployment soldiers, blood draws, so chemistries, blah, 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 and then questionnaires. Do you feel like harming yourself after deployment, etc.? If they had a TBI, blah, blah. So that's a great database. Those Federal Research in Progress a lot of those are databases of government research that's currently in practice, and you can use those databases. Okay? You might have to ask permission, but yes. So that was this one right there. Okay? and it's an EBSCO. And then here, you've got, this would be what type of data here? Scholarly, government, and general interest titles. Anyone? Great, yes. Okay, then here, you've got lexicon, okay, yay. But Medline with Ovid and Medline with PubMed. And they're different, right? I think it's Ovid, you can go in and just search a title. Okay, so there's times when it's good to look for keywords, and then after you've done a keyword search and a mesh search, you can always go back into those databases that allow title searches, and you can put what your specific question, the most germane part of it as title, and you might find more articles that come up from that too that are poignant. Okay, and they describe it pretty well in this text. Okay, so if you're fuzzy on any of this before the next assignment, definitely look at that chapter. I know it's longer, but it gives you every dirty detail on searching like a pro without being a research librarian. National Guideline Clearinghouse, okay, that could be very useful. NIH has one. NIH also has a site called www.promise.org, and inside of that they have different guidelines, clinical guidelines, medical clinical guidelines, and they also have evaluation tools, okay, that they've developed based off of research they've already done. So that could be a good source for guidelines and grade literature, right? www.promise.org. Okay, I wanted to make sure I didn't forget to tell you that. You guys know about Nursing and Allied Health Collection? Are you familiar with this? And then, if you were doing traumatic stress, this would be specific to that. Okay, SciInfo can be useful on some types of more like nursing stuff. And then TRIP database, and this is good for point of service as well. Okay, so if you have a quick question, you need to pull up a few high quality articles to get a general idea of what the state of science is. It's not the same as an exhaustive literature search, which is what we spent the majority of today talking about, is this exhaustive literature search. But there's sometimes when, no joke, you need some information right now. So here's another example. I showed you guys this on slides, but I didn't demonstrate how to do it. Okay, here we're at PubMed, right? This is another point of service method, okay? Reading the tutorials before you search is useful. It will save you a lot of headache and time, okay? So, you can do, they have clinical trials, okay? They have mesh database you can specifically go to, okay? And then here's clinical queries. This is good for your point of service, and this is also useful. So let's look at clinical queries first. So you come into clinical queries, and you decide you're interested in oxytocin. Let's do after cesarean section. Okay? So right off the bat, okay, I have 44 systematic reviews, okay, and then I've got 483 articles that just came up. So then what would I do? Is that a little broad? Yeah. So that's clinical studies and then medical genetics. That's a whole nother thing. Right now they're starting to talk about genomics, genomic pharmacology. specific drug for patient that's receptive, not using it, somebody who's not. Okay, so systematic reviews, if I only had 5 systematic reviews, that would rock, right? I could look at the introduction, I could read through the conclusion, and I could probably go and have a pretty good idea of what to apply in a quick clinical situation. So since this is so broad and everybody studied it, then I could say, oh, it's not going to show us anything. Oh, it is, okay. Because I forgot to get my little space in there. Okay, so let's try it again. None that way. And then you can try the number. Do you see how you can play around to kind of get your search for a click? There you go, quick, I've got 1. So this is breach. Probably not going to actually apply. Looks like it's gonna, but it's not. Okay, so then you play with it. Administration of oxytocin and cesarean section. Okay, are you getting the idea? What was another one? OFIRMEV. Pain. And then let's do adults. So you have 2 clinical studies and no systematic reviews. Okay? But that's keyword search. If you're not finding something with this, you can take this and go back to that mesh. Remember when I was showing you all the mesh subcategory? Sorry? You can do a mesh in PubMed also. You want me to show you that? Yeah. Yeah, let's look at it. I'm going to kind of, just because I know, I'm going to just do this real quick. I'm going to go back to it because it'll be quicker than backing up. So right here, let me just get it in the center. Mesh database. No. So you might just want to do did it delete the whole thing? No, this is a little painful just watching it. Did you see where it was? Oh, very far right, and then there you go. So now you've got 60 articles. So this mesh, you can see, is not as helpful for point of service, but it's helpful for the broad search. Okay. And then what else? Oh yeah. Let's. I want to show you one other thing with the PubMed. This is just examples, but a lot of them have topic-specific queries. If you go to topic-specific queries, it'll show you clinical, electronic health records, comparative effectiveness research, and then Healthy People 2020. Okay? So then you can do searches through those and find information that supports what you're looking for. So that could be important for like your background and significance. It could be useful. It could be useful for anytime you're looking at evidence-based practice, comparative research. Okay? So is that an idea on point of service search versus, and does that make it clear? Is that kind of like distinguishing between subarachnoid blocks and epidurals? Right? It's kind of like point of service care search and then doing a exhaustive search of the literature. When you're really getting into all that gray literature and making sure you hunt down every dissertation, that's what they do in a meta-analysis or a meta-synthesis. Okay? They have this monstrous library, and they pull out and they borrow articles from other facilities and etc. You do the best you can with your resources, right? If you only have access to a library that has these search engines, and you don't have access to Web of Science, then guess what? That's not one of your databases. And you just have to, that's why there's no perfect research. Nobody has an exhaustive supply of time, money, and personnel, and the ability to transgress every ethical option in the world. Okay? So that's why there's no perfect research. So within the constraints of what you can do, within the constraints of what I could afford, I didn't have a grant, I did the research I did. And somebody else is going to go behind it, read it, and shred it up and say, oh, well, if you would have done this, this would have been better, blah, 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 why didn't you? And all I can do is try to, in advance, think of what those shortcomings are and be transparent about it. And then maybe somebody else can come back behind me and do something better. Or when you're evaluating my research, you're saying, I can see the applicability of it, but I see some flaws. And so I'm going to cautiously go forward with using this evidence in treating my patient. This group back here had a really good example of that with how to treat people with emergent delirium and PTSD. There's an article that's stating that you can do this anesthetic. But when you look at how they arrived at that, you might want to be a little cautious in actually applying that to your practice, because they don't have a whole lot of data supporting what they did. They have some clinical knowledge, but it wasn't piloted or tested anywhere. They did it with a couple of patients and then did a case report on it. Okay? So that's an example of the translation into practice. Is that useful for you all looking at those resources? Yes, no, maybe? Now, for the learning activity, do you guys see what to do for the learning activity? You're like, we haven't even looked at it. I have no idea. Let's look at it. I'll pull it up, okay? While y'all are pulling it up, I'll pull it up. Your people can talk to my people. I'm not forgetting my card today. Whoever was kind enough to rescue it last time from my silliness. Okay. We'll go back to the laptop. And then okay. Let's just go back there. So you guys are gonna start your search. Okay? These are things. Start your search. And I'm not sure now that I remember verbatim what I asked you all to do. I'll pull it up in a second. I wanted you to see some Chuck. I know you're Chuck deprived, Chuck deficient, Chuckopenic. Feel better now? Good. I do too. I especially love that. Okay. If only I had those guns. All right. So start your search. Okay. For the learning activity, keep it to your topic, and then just submit one article with how you did, what was your source, okay, what was your search mesh terms, how you did it, your limits, okay? So this is what you report in that paragraph of how you're doing your search, right? So you're going to say, I searched this database using these keywords and these booleans, and then I had these limiters, which you can do in a lot of the databases, which is very nice. And you're wondering what was I'm sorry.
The link to us is
Yeah, so you're talking about database?
yeah.
You don't have to do the link, that's okay. This is just a tool for your benefit. The only time I would start using links is if it's something that you don't commonly have access to, like up to date or something like that, okay?
So, ma'am, is the assignment just to complete this chart and submit it
I
to?
just want one. I just want one, okay? And then your one article, okay, for the learning activity, it's practice, right? So just want one article, okay? And then let's pull this up so that we can actually all be on the same sheet, okay? Now, if this, I might have to beg you to come up, Fulkerson, if I can't get it to, if I have to play with all my screens again. Maybe it's easier. Do you guys think it's easier just to look at it in the assignments?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. Let's just do that then. I just want to make sure, and we'll look at both, because we have both classes today. So we'll look at the learning activity, and we'll look at the presentation. We'll do both right now, and then that way I can be available to you all, the people that are going to meet with their chairs. Once I'm done helping you in this part of the class, can go and meet their chairs. Is that reasonable?
And this presentation is due on Monday, is that right?
Yes. And I was worried because initially I thought that that presentation conflicted with a test. I thought I had marched it out so it wouldn't, but then it was okay. So I was relieved. I thought I heard Dr. Benham say he had another test for you guys on Monday, and I was like, ooh. But I was wrong. So let's look at Blackboard. Let's look at have any of you pulled up the assignment yet? I'm sorry?
So far, it's not letting us.
Okay. So essentially though, the learning activity is going to be one article. And then your presentation, you're going to start getting into literature. I'm just going to want 3 articles, okay? And I think we'll start looking at that synthesis.
Could you repeat that again, ma'am?
Well, let me pull it up because it'll be clear. I just don't want to make it confusing. Okay, so let's look at liver dysfunction. Let's look here. At assignments. That's the easiest way. So if you look here, this is your assignment number 3, right? And I think I put in there a link, right? Meanwhile, on the home front, I will look here. Okay, did it come up? All right, so quick as a snail, we have what we need. Or molasses. I don't know. Who likes molasses in here?
Only on a cold day.
Yeah? I like it. Don't know why. Okay. So,
It's nothing moves slower.
okay, so I said,
Never heard that?
Colder than molasses on a cold day.
So
Slower.
so the only thing I changed is I don't want you duplicating searches. So for this, write this down so you'll know. One article from a search on your topic. Okay? One article from the search on your topic. Put into that so that it shows your database, your search mesh terms, just the one, okay? And that's in with your, should be uploaded under search, your folder for search. If you guys can't find it, tell me and I'll show you where it is. And then here's the next one. So I need to make sure that I adjust that for the next course. Okay, the next one is this. Well, all right, so the next one is going to be number 4. Assignment number 4, which is your presentation on your search, right? And that's going to be taking it a step further, okay? And quick as lightning again. If any of you can't find what you need, let me know and I can show you where it's at. So it's under the literature evaluation folder. When you guys are looking for your big folder that the search falls under, it's under literature evaluation. And I'll show you guys that. Okay, so develop your slides with your search history, the yield, and the number of repeats. Okay, so this is starting it. This is starting your search. So when you do your search today, you're not heavily involved. You're looking for one article. This is going to show the databases you think and start that search and just say how many you had. Okay, and put it into that diagram. Just the beginning of how many you had from what. Yes.
So am I correct in assuming you're restricted to using those 2 databases?
No, not at all. That's just for example, so you know what forms to use. This is really guided right now, right? Just so that you get a feel for it. So, how many of you are going to actually engage the librarian for your search for your capstone?
Somewhere.
Are you all? Okay. Well, if you guys, have you guys ever tried to contact her? I just am trying to, is she pretty receptive? Can you get help pretty quick?
Yes. Very available.
So would you guys have enough time though? Today's Wednesday, before Monday, to have this with her? So this is what I'm asking you. If you guys don't, if you think it's too crunched, I would rather this search, this project, this presentation, be value added and get you off on the right foot completely, okay, than wasted effort just to go through an exercise. Would you all be okay with me shifting and I can lecture on Monday on just reviewing stats? It's just a statistics review. It's before you will have closed out this component of the module, but that will give you till our class after that to present. Are you guys okay with that as a class?
Is the librarian component of this required?
No, not at all. But if you, it sounds like at least half the groups want to engage the librarian in the search so that this search that you do now is the foundation for your next step. right? So as a class, how many of you are interested in just doing this as the foundation for your search that you're gonna push up to your phase 2? I just need hands. Okay? And if you're not and you just want to check the box and get it done, raise your hand. Okay, that's honest. So you guys, is there anything close to do that's close to me switching it if you present on Wednesday instead of Monday? Okay.
We had a PT test.
What? Yeah, you have a PT test, but we still have class anyway, right?
Yes, ma'am.
That's not
Yeah.
something you ship and
Is
schedule
that okay
for.
for you all as a group? Do you guys want to discuss it and tell me after the break?
I'll punch him later.
You just want to rock forward with that? Okay, all right, so now every group who wants the opportunity to do the search, the way you meet for phase 2, so that work's done before you go forward. This should allow you enough time to make an appointment with the librarian and do the search. And then just come out with the beginning of that search. How many articles you pulled, how many were duplicates, and what databases they were from. You're not appraising the literature yet, right? And then you can fill out the part of the databases that you use, what terms you use, how you combine terms, and what limits you set, and then what your yield was. When you did that from Cochrane, you got 1 systematic review. When you did that in PubMed, you got 25 articles. That generic is fine. And then either present, I know I said consort, look at those 2 flow diagrams of presenting. I don't care if it's Prisma or consort. The only reason I said consort initially is because ICMJE tends to use that. Prisma's fine. That would be easy to then stick into the other ones because it's basically the same. Okay? Is that clear?
The second half of the assignment, we have to look together and provide a synthesis of the repeat articles.
We're not going to do that yet. Okay. I initially thought that was a great idea, but I didn't know how interested you guys were going to be in actually doing it for real versus checking the box. And since you guys are interested in doing it for real, that's more effort. And I would rather you have a high yield product than us going heavier into it. Because in the synthesis part, we can continue with appraisal. Okay? And so I'll just adjust the assignments as we need. Are we all comfortable with that, or the majority of us comfortable with that? Hands for yes. I just want to imagine like this is a democracy. Yes, no, okay. Hands for no. Well, I'm not going to call for no's. Okay, so in that case, do any of you want to start just knocking out your morning activity? Doing a search, finding you 1 article. I'm here for you. If you need me, grab me, upload, and then I will spend today, tomorrow, by Friday, I should have your grades in for your presentation.
Is learning activity and individual activities?
No, in your groups. Yep, stick with your groups, and then just keep it working, okay? And then same rules apply, peer evaluation, yada, yada. And now if you know if you give me a minute while you guys start this, I'm going to go run and talk to the other chairs to make sure they're ready for y'all.
Abstract or